They didn't have to do this. And like I said, they brought a lot of shame to their own family. Once you see this video, and I know I didn't see it, but from what I hear, it's horrific. And the humanity of it all, where was the humanity? They beat my son like a piñata.
I can't imagine being a mom in that situation. It's been 2 days since the world saw what happened to Tyre Nichols on January 7th, and there's more fallout today in that investigation. A sixth Memphis police officer involved in Nichols' violent arrest has been relieved of duty. That officer is Preston Hemphill. He was not fired, just relieved of duty. We also just learned that 2 Memphis Fire Department emergency medical workers and a driver have been fired over Nichols' death. Now, the Memphis Police Department has also scrapped that Scorpion unit. That's the proactive unit of the 5 officers they were a part of. Scorpion, which stood for Street Crimes Operation to Restore Peace in Our Neighborhoods, was started in 2021 and was aimed at putting violent offenders behind bars by placing officers into areas with increases in violent crime. Now, in case you missed it, we do want to show you part of the video of that arrest, and we do, of course, want to warn you that it's graphic and very tough to watch.
The following video includes graphic content. Viewer discretion is advised.
Please, I'm going to tase you! Get on the ground! Stop. One! Now! I'm tasing! All right, okay, all right. Break your hey, dude, damn! Put your bitch, put your hands behind your back pocket. Okay, stop. I'm gonna knock your ass. You guys are really doing a lot right now.
Bro, lay down.
I'm just trying to go home.
Lay down.
Man, if you don't lay down. Bro, I am on the ground. Put your hands behind your stomach. I got you. Spray. Okay. Back up. I'm not doing it. Stay. Hey, Mike, give me bro. Watch out. Give me a hand. Mom! Hey. Give me your hands. Give me. Okay, all right. Give me. All right. Okay. All right. Huh? Hey, Mike, give me your hands, bro. Give me your hands. Watch out. Spray ass again. Hey, give me your hands, bro. Watch out. Spray. Give me your hands, bro. Oh. Give me your hands. Mom! All right. Give me your hand. Give me your hand. Oh. Get your hand. Give me your hand. Turn around. Lay back. Lay back. Lay back, goddamn. Lay back. Lay back. Lay back. All right. Watch out! Watch out! Watch out! Get his hands! My leg over. He got me. He high as a kite. Yo, I was good. He set up for us. Bro, I hit that man with so many pieces in his school. I hit it, bro. You know his name, bro? Hell no, man. Hey, hold on. Let me watch it.
At one point in the video, the officers commiserate and begin to talk about the story that they're going to tell. So I want you now to take a look at this report filed by CNN's Sarah Seidner, as she takes a look at the differences between what transpired on the video and what the officers involved in that arrest said in their police statements.
Police body camera and surveillance video are bringing into question the initial statement made by the Memphis Police Department regarding the brutal arrest and death of Tyre Nichols. The initial statement writes that officers attempted to make a traffic stop for reckless driving, further writing, as officers approached the driver of the vehicle, a confrontation occurred. As seen in the police body camera video, Nichols was actually pulled out of the car and thrown to the ground, tased and beaten. The Memphis Police Department statement said that Nichols fled the scene on foot and officers pursued the suspect and again attempted to take the suspect into custody. While attempting to take the suspect into custody, another confrontation occurred. That second confrontation includes officers spraying him with pepper spray and punching and kicking him repeatedly.
I have more and more doubts that there was any issue of reckless driving whatsoever. I think it was a narrative. I think it was a justification for the stop, just as they pleaded on some of the video that you saw in the second encounter that they were saying, did you see him reach for my gun? That never happened. Those are all excuses. Those are all lame defenses and just a reason for what they did, which is now we know has no basis at all.
According to the Memphis Police, the suspect complained of having shortness of breath, at which time an ambulance was called.
Shut up, man.
The video shows Nichols propped up against a police car, clearly in distress, while the officers stand around chatting with each other. Medics arrive, but it is not until 25 minutes after Nichols is subdued that an ambulance arrives on the scene. This is certainly not the first time that videos and evidence contradict initial police accounts that favor the officers involved. In the case of George Floyd, the Minneapolis police said Floyd appeared to be suffering medical distress, when in reality, video evidence showed Officer Derek Chauvin kneeling on Floyd's neck. In the case of Breonna Taylor, the initial statement from Louisville police said she had no injuries, even though 6 shots struck her when police entered her home using a battering ram to execute a search warrant. The report also says there was no forced entry.
All right, still with me here in the studio, criminal defense attorneys Jack Rice and Josh Schiffer. Jack, I'll start with you. I just want to get your reaction to the video. It came out on Friday. We all sat around the newsroom, watched it, appalled, just awful. Love to get your thoughts.
I lived 8 blocks from where Derek Chauvin was murdered. 9 minutes and 29 seconds. Excuse me, George Floyd was murdered, and I watched it. And as a result of where I was, it was over and over and over again.
Yeah.
When I watched this video for the first time, and I watched that officer lean back and kick him in the head, I thought to myself, this is worse.
Yeah.
And that's when I thought, this is all about, as we've been discussing off the air, this is not a black or white question.
Yeah.
This is a cultural question of what police officers do, how they see the world, how they respond. It doesn't matter what they look like. It's about how they're trained, how they approach violence, how they approach people in the streets, and what they do if they don't get exactly what they want in exactly the way that they want it.
Yeah, Josh, the normalcy of the whole thing. For everyone who arrived on the scene, you know, I'm never happy if somebody loses their job, but now the EMTs from the fire department have lost their job, and rightfully so. They arrive on the scene, but what that tells you goes back to what Jack said. It's all about the culture. They've seen this 1,000 times.
Hannah Arendt, who is a political theorist from the 40s and 50s, covered the Nuremberg trials.
Right.
And asked, how could the entire country of Germany just watch these horrors happen? And she coined this phrase, beautifully powerful and more appropriate now than ever, the banality of evil. And what you just talked about, the fact that these EMTs and firefighters, that these other officers just treated this as any other, because what happens in Jack and my practice, I hear a story similar to this, except someone doesn't die every day.
Yes.
It's constant. And the banality of evil is the culture. And you've spoken about this extensively.
Decades.
That culture.
Decades.
is what matters.
Decades of this. How many times have we seen this? Dozens, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've been told this dozens of times. The difference is this thing right here.
Cameras, what's make all the
This is what
difference.
does everything.
Absolutely,
And
huge change.
Without that video,
Yes.
the police report rules the day every single time.
Right.
No one picks up a police report and immediately goes, let's question the truth about. No, they're taken as rote truth every time.
Yeah.
And look at what a video shows.
And even with the video, though, this tells you how deep the culture runs. Even with the video, they're still putting together a report that's false and still trying to get away with it.
Knowing
Right?
they're on
Knowing
video.
they're on video.
George Floyd case, they did the exact same thing.
Same
Those
thing.
officers reported falsely what
But a
they were
difference,
doing.
the intentionality here, like you mentioned, is what's different.
worse.
All right, I want to take a little bit of a 360 here, right? What did Memphis Police do right? And I'm talking about the overall. Okay, I'm going to go through a couple things, then I'm going to throw it out to you guys. There was swift justice here, right? Okay, there's a question as to whether that's right, and we'll talk about that. Let the family see the video, held it until the Friday night, immediately fired the officers, immediately distanced themselves from the actions of the officers, and they disbanded that Scorpion unit. So, did they do anything right, or any of these things right?
I'm going to take this, and I take it from two directions, because first of all, I'm a criminal defense lawyer, and I defend people who have been accused of things, very often wrong things. And from that perspective, I'm going to say this was fast action and could have made mistakes and are overlooking the full story of these defendants and accused, being the officers. Now, at the same time, I'm going to say, as a citizen, as someone who loves the law, they did the right thing from a kind of global perspective by getting out in front of something that was undeniably wrong.
And incendiary.
Incendiary.
Right. Yeah.
And took that anger and exposed it and said, we all are going to be angry. That led to peaceful demonstrations because it was responsive actions from the state.
I got one thing right.
Yeah.
Transparency.
Yeah.
You released that video.
Yeah.
What
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't get to do is hold on to this thing and act like you're protecting somebody when in fact what you're saying is what happened happened. Whether we love it, whether we hate it, isn't the question.
Yeah.
The people of Memphis, the people of the United States get to see what it is that their police departments are doing. We can like it, we can hate it. We aren't about protecting people, we're about the truth. And if that's the truth, that's what we should be doing.
All right, 20 days from incident to the firings and the ultimate indictment. I want you to listen to what Ben Crump had to say about this. Let's take a quick listen.
When we look at how these 5 black officers who were caught on camera commit the crime, and when we look at how fast the police chief and the police department terminated them, and we look at how swiftly the district attorney brought charges against them in less than 20 days, then we want to proclaim that this is the blueprint going forward for any time, any officer, whether that be black or white, will be held accountable. No longer can you tell us we have to wait 6 months to a year, even though we have a video with evidence of the excessive force and the crime. No more can you tell us that anymore, because with these 5 black officers, you all moved it swiftly.
Guys, Ben makes some very interesting points. That is layer upon layer of points he's making. He's saying there may be some racism in the way they're treating the officers in this case, because we don't see this swift justice in cases where there's white officers saying this should be a blueprint. I'm not so sure that's right, though, because as you mentioned, you touched on it for a second, Josh. You said, you know, we need to know the full story. The investigations need to be thorough so we can get to the bottom of it. 20 days sometimes is just not enough.
It's just like the shooting that we had here in Atlanta a couple years ago, where after a thorough investigation, more finesse, more details, it takes time for those to come out. The quick rush to judgment has a lot of benefits because it gave a lot of certainty to the community. But at the same time, you may be throwing the rights of those individual officers under the bus and convicting them before fully understanding what happened. As clear as what it looks like happened, there's always more to every story.
But Michael, there's a broader question here. I think it's easy frequently, and we've seen this, where people will say just a couple of bad apples. That somehow it's just these officers who went rogue. Well, the problem is what happens if they didn't go rogue? What happens if they did exactly what they were trained to do? They did exactly as they were preparing to do. They come out with a unit called Scorpion, idiocy, and you have that and you assume this is what they do. And I'm guessing this has happened 50 times without a dead man in the street. And you have to have that question to say, it's not about the 5 or 6 or however many the number is now. It's about saying, is this part of something systemic? Is the word we used. Is this something that's cultural?
Before you get to that, because this is important, I only got a few minutes left, a few seconds left, actually. Do you think the state's going to be able to sustain a second-degree murder charge here?
Oh, I think that there's definitely a prima facie case for it, and I think that it'll be pretty easy to inflame a jury because of the wrong that is just so apparent here. What I'm really concerned about, though, is the rush to judgment from such a firm position of elected leadership. That sets a dangerous precedent, as much as I appreciate Mr. Crump, and this should be a blueprint that other jurisdictions learn from with quick and decisive action. That invites abuse, problems, and unjust results when we are in a rush to calm down a mob. Mobs don't have finesse. Mobs don't have the full picture of what's going on, and you can do substantial wrong by following the urges of the mob.
And the last thing you want is for these guys to not face the full, brunt of their actions in court or by the law because of some rush to judgment early on in the case, right? At the end of the day. All right, guys.